Hey guys, it's really good to be back. I'm excited to share with you today some new finished objects and some yarn acquisitions. So let's just dive into it. First up, let's take a look at my brand new finished beanie. This is something I finished in the last 2 weeks or so, and it is a replacement for my old winter beanies. I've knit 2 beanies before, and neither of them were perfect. They each had something I didn't really like about them. Mostly it was sizing issues. So I decided to improve on those and to make one that had all the things I liked about them and none of the things I didn't like. So this is a triple layered folded brim beanie made with mohair, as you can hopefully see. It's very fluffy and wonderful, and it's in this beautiful green color, which I love. And importantly, this time I made the beanie big enough for me. So in the past, I've struggled with beanies being a little bit tight, which kind of pushes against my forehead. It can leave a mark and it's not very comfortable. So I made sure to make this one big enough, and I can finally claim to have a beanie that fits me really well. This pattern was very much inspired by Petite Knit's Oslo hat. However, I didn't actually buy and follow that pattern, I just eyeballed it. So I looked at a lot of pattern pictures, I've seen a lot of videos where people have made these before, and I kind of did my own interpretation of it. So in case you're not familiar, the Oslo hat has a triple folded brim, meaning you knit the brim double and then you actually fold it up a third time, making it 3 layers on the brim and 1 layer on the body of the hat. And as you can see, there is this really cool pearl ridge feature, which I didn't ever understand before. People talk about it a lot with the Oslo hat. I didn't really know why they talked about it and why it was done. I finally understand now. So let me just walk you through how I made this beanie. I cast on 112 stitches. That was just roughly the sizing I thought would suit me, and it fits me great. And I knit really, really deep brim, twice as deep as I wanted it to be. And I cast on with a provisional cast on. And that's using a crochet hook to kind of chain around the knitting needles, 112 stitches, and then knitting into that chain. And that way you can actually undo the crochet chain later and you have live stitches at the beginning of your work. And I use that to create a folded brim, which I've done before, where you join up the live cast on edge with your current edge and you knit 2 together. So you knit 1 from the current edge with 1 from the cast on edge, and you do that all the way around to create a kind of tube of fabric. So once I'd done that, and I knew I was going to fold the brim of this beanie up, the concern is that when you fold the brim, you would then expose purl stitches on the inside of your hat. And we all know it's really, really hard to fold a beanie at the exact right spot. So the ingenious thing about the Oslo hat design, even though I didn't follow the pattern, it calls for you to join the folded brim and then to knit about 5-10 rows of purl stitches. That's actually achieved by, instead of doing purl stitches, you just knit 5 or 10 rounds and then you do a short row and you start knitting the other direction, which effectively gives you a small section of purl stitches. You could do it either way. I did it the short row way. So I knit about, I think, 8 rounds. Then I did a short row, turned around and started knitting the other way. And what that means is that ridge is hidden under the fold of the beanie. So you can't see it when it's folded up. It looks like you've just got stockinette on the body of the hat. However, if you peek under the fold, there's also about an extra inch of stockinette there as well. This is actually the backside of some purl stitches here. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to folding the hat and wearing it, so that you don't have purl bumps poking out from the inside of the brim. I hope I explained that all right. It was a lot of fun to figure out how that worked. I think I did a pretty good job of kind of copying the design. I did a kind of standard beanie decrease at 4 different points, and I did a slip knit and a knit 2 together on either side of the kind of like raglan lines. However, I didn't actually do a slip knit. I did a slightly different left leaning increase, which I have done before. I can't remember the name of it, but you essentially put your needle through the front leg of the first stitch on your left needle, and then the back leg of the second stitch on your left needle, and then you pull a loop through both of those. So it's kind of like the reverse of a knit 2 together, and you're actually twisting the back stitch. And I think that uses up some of that excess yarn that left leaning increases can sometimes have. So it creates what is, in my opinion, a slightly neater looking decrease line. And I find it a lot quicker and less disruptive to knit than a slip knit. I don't like passing the stitches back and forth. Now, you might be wondering what this beautiful color is. This is Knitting for Olive, and this is some yarn that I got when I was overseas in Denmark from the Copenhagen Knitting for Olive store. I got the Merino and the soft silk Mohair, and I held them together, and they're both in the color Clover. This is a beautiful grass green. I love this warm yellow-based green color. I like that this is a statement beanie in that it's a bright color, but it is all just one color and it is very plain. So I think it could go with a lot of different outfits, and it's not so crazy that you have to like keep the rest of your outfit totally neutral. I think this would look great with brightly colored jumpers or brightly colored pants and kind of make like a block color look. I love the feeling of this fabric, the Merino held together with the Mohair. It is really drapey, very soft. Not soft in the way that superwash wool is soft. It's still very much a non-superwash feeling, but the Mohair creates just like a lovely fluffy halo, and the colors match perfectly. So if you're really into matching Merino and Mohairs, Knitting for Olive has you covered there because they have a huge range of colors, and most, if not all of them, have a matching Merino and Mohair, as well as they have cotton yarns, they have cashmere yarns, and a couple of other ones too. So for this beanie, I used a 50-gram ball or a 250-meter ball of the Merino. That's a fingering weight yarn. And then I used a 25-gram or 225-meter ball of the soft silk Mohair. And I used almost all of them. So this is all I have left. I very much played yarn chicken with these. And I think I've got like 1 and 2 grams of each of these left over. And when it comes to trying to make the most of the yarn, I folded the brim and joined the provisional cast on edge with my knitting when I had 55% of my yarn left by weight. And then I started the decreases when I had about 15% of the yarn left by weight. And that gave me probably enough yarn left over to do maybe a few more rounds. Not many though, maybe 3 more rounds. So I pretty much cut it as fine as I could. So I'm really happy with that. And the beanie fits great. I could have gone for it being a little bit deeper of a brim, but there just isn't enough yarn in those balls, and I only had the 1 ball of each, so I was kind of working with what I got. Very excited to have an accessory cast on and cast off, all in one podcast break. So next up is not quite a finished object. It is still a work in progress, but I don't think it will take me very much longer. This is a very cute little baby vest that I am knitting. My sister is having a baby in September, and I'm making them a little vest. It is so cute. I can't get over this. I've decided to make them the Moby slipover. This is another petite knit pattern. I did buy the pattern this time, and it's a baby version of the Moby sweater and the Moby slipover in the adult sizes, which I know is a really popular pattern. I just thought this was so cute and a really good opportunity to do relatively complicated cables without a huge commitment, because let me tell you, this is going so quickly. This is knit on 3mm needles with fingering weight yarn, but this probably has only taken me, I want to say, less than 10 hours so far, and I am past halfway done with it. I'm making the newborn size. September's still pretty cool here, so I'm hoping the baby will get to wear this just a little bit when they're born, and then I know it's just going to become kind of like an heirloom piece or something that goes into a box as a memory, as a memento. So I don't expect they're going to get a huge amount of wear out of it. What I've heard is that baby pullovers without buttons or a zipper are a little bit tricky because their heads are so large. So I understand this isn't the most practical gift ever, but I do think it's really cute and I'm having a really good time making it. I am going to also knit the baby more of a one piece or like a romper baby grow kind of thing for when they're a little bit bigger and the weather is cooling down again next year. So I'll probably make that in a maybe 6-month size. I have a pattern in mind for that and I'm really looking forward to making it, but I just needed some quick gratification and this is the perfect project. Excitingly, I learned a new technique in this knit. These are mock cables just here. So these are not actual 1x1 cables, they are mock cables, and they are really fun to do, very quick to knit. It's kind of like a cable, but instead of switching the 2 stitches around, you switch 1 stitch over the other and then you just knit through both. So it creates the look of a cable where 1 stitch lays on top, but at the back they're actually kind of knit together. Just a little bit less fiddly, less likely to drop the stitches. I think ideal for a little tiny baby knit like this. And in terms of the yarn, this is Patons Dreamtime Merino. I had a couple of balls of this, which I used to make my Nord sweater, and I had one extra color that I didn't end up using, and that is this color here. I believe the color is silver. It's just a mid-tone, leaning kind of light gray color. And this is a superwash or superwash adjacent 100% wool yarn. So that means if this accidentally gets put in the washing machine, it should survive. Now I only have this one ball of this. I do have a little bit left over of a very, very similar color, which I used in that sweater. So if I do run out, I'll be able to do maybe the hem in that slightly different gray tone. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I am gonna try to keep track of how much yarn I have left and see if I can get a whole vest out of this 150-gram ball. I have knit the back panel, I have knit the shoulders and connected the neckline, knit the front, and I've now just joined under the underarms. So I've got to knit a little bit more for the body. Then I'm going to pick up and knit ribbing for the neckline, the armholes and the hem. I reckon I've got maybe another 5 hours worth of work in this. I am really, really enjoying it. It's a great portable project. I'm using 16-inch circular needles to knit this round and round like I would a beanie. So I don't have to worry about magic loop or DPNs or anything like that. And the pattern is quite easy to read visually, so I don't have to reference the charts anymore. I can look at my knitting and kind of figure out what comes next. So I'm having a blast with this one, and I hope it's done the next time you guys see it. And my next whip is one you saw last podcast. This is my tangent sweater. It is a large adult size cabled pullover. And I haven't made a huge amount of progress on this since you last saw it. I have joined the underarm, so I'm in a very similar position for this as I am for my Moby slipover newborn size. This is obviously a jumper for me, and I am very excited to wear it, but I haven't put too much more time into this over the last little while. I've been focusing on that beanie and the baby slipover. The next decision I need to make on this one is whether to carry on knitting the body and finish that and then do the sleeves, or if I should move on to the sleeves, finish those first and come back and finish the body later. I haven't really decided. In the past, I've tried it both ways, I think, and I don't love finishing on the body at the end because it feels like it takes so long. There are so many stitches. However, it is more practical to knit the sleeves first because then you can figure out exactly how long you want to make them and you don't have to worry about yarn chicken, and then you just finish the body with what you've got left. In this case, I'm knitting this jumper in Sandnes Garn's Pure Gynt, and I have heaps of this. I have 900 grams, so there is basically no chance of me running out, meaning I can probably just knit to my heart's content for the body and the sleeves and not worry about it. So we'll see what I decide, but I hope now that I've got a little bit of my knitting mojo back that I can get stuck back into this again really soon. The only other whip I really want to give a quick mention to is my Ophelia blouse. There's been basically no movement since I last spoke to you. It's been put to the sidelines in favor of these other projects. And it's so close to done, it's a little bit silly that I haven't just finished it at this point. There's like just a tiny bit of a sleeve and some finishings to do, but for some reason it's a big mental hurdle for me, so I've just put it to the side for now, but I am hoping to have that finished pretty soon. As you can probably tell, I've been knitting a lot this month. I've started and finished a whole accessory. I have started and almost finished a baby knit, and I did make a bit of progress on my current garment project. That is because my boyfriend's actually been unwell, so we spent a bit of time in the emergency department and then at the hospital this month. So I brought my tangent sweater to the hospital with me, and I thought I would make heaps of progress there because I had so much kind of free time. But it turns out I actually was quite distracted, and then I started to associate working on the sweater with the kind of negative memories. I don't know if you guys are the same, but I tend to associate my knitting with what I'm doing at the time. So I realized I was starting to do that, and so I kind of put it to the side, and I didn't really make that much progress. I wasn't feeling super motivated. And then once he was back home and recovering, I was itching to knit. I had so much free time, was sitting on the couch watching TV a lot while he was recovering. And that's when I cast on this beanie. I just needed something that was gonna be kind of mindless. Even the cables on the jumper were a little bit too much for me to keep track of. And this beanie was the perfect amount of challenge, as in almost no challenge. And I really just needed something that was gonna give me that satisfaction of finishing it. I also was struggling with the sweater is getting bigger and bigger to carry around. So I was packing, a few balls of yarn, the sweater in this tote bag and kind of hauling it around the place. And I just find that past a certain point, past the yoke, sweaters aren't really a good travel project. And I was, having to get in and out of the car so much and walk around with this bag. So a beanie was a lot more practical for me to work on. I was knitting on this beanie for a couple of follow-up appointments, including when he got some good news. So that's why I'm calling this the good news beanie. So hopefully we've got no more time spent at hospitals coming up. That's really good. And I'm glad to have such a positive feeling associated with this project. And since we're back to more or less normal scheduled programming in my life right now, I'm also back to knitting in the evenings after work and on my commute on the bus. So that's actually how I acquired my first new lot of yarn for this past month. It was a very, very thoughtful gift from his parents as kind of a thank you for keeping spirits up and helping out around the place while he was recovering. They bought me 500 grams of this beautiful Heirloom Merino Magic 10-ply yarn. This is an Aran weight yarn. It is 100% wool, and they got it in this absolutely gorgeous cornflower blue. It's shade 6250, and this is a superwash 100% wool yarn. I have used this before. I own some in black, I think, but they bought me a whole bag full, which was very, very kind. It's one of my favorite colors, and just, yeah, a really, really kind and thoughtful gift. And I mean, they clearly put so much time and thought into getting me something that I would really like. They knew I liked knitting with wool. They knew I liked the color blue. So yeah, I'm very appreciative for this and really excited to make something out of it. I'm thinking this would be a great candidate for another cabled jumper, but more along the lines of one of my white whale projects, which is the Handsome Chris sweater, the all over detailed cabled pullover that I'd really like to knit. I think this light blue would look really nice, and because it's 10-ply, it would be a little bit more manageable than say like a fingering weight or a DK weight yarn for such a complicated project. My next acquisition was bought by me at a recent local wool expo. So every year a bunch of wool vendors from all over Australia come and put on stalls at a local market, and that was just this weekend gone past. So I went along with my friends and there was so much beautiful yarn. I went there last year and I wasn't buying any yarn, and I found it really, really difficult to control myself. There was only one skein of yarn that I was desperate to buy. I didn't end up buying it. My friend actually did. It was a navy blue fingering weight wool with Stellina sparkles in it. And I was hoping to go back and get that this year. Turns out the yarn dyers have closed. So they no longer sell that yarn, which is really disappointing. But I did pick up something else. I picked up 2 skeins, so 200 grams of this Mirasol Llama Umi, which is pure baby llama wool. And guys, I can't tell you how soft this is. This is the softest yarn I think I've ever felt. It's on par with cashmere. It is a beautiful, beautiful natural wool. I believe it's undyed. I suspect it's undyed. It only comes in 4 different colors. It comes in this dark brown, a lighter brown, and then a dark gray and a light gray. So I chose this dark, rich brown color, which is called caramel, but this is 100% baby llama. It is 100 grams and 300 meters. So I'm going to guess it's about a DK weight, or maybe a little thinner actually. The recommended needle size is 3.25 to 3.75 millimeters. It reminds me a lot of alpaca wool in that it has a beautiful halo on it, and it feels just so soft. And I bought 2 skeins of this with the vision of knitting myself a kind of practical, versatile shawl, or like a very large scarf. I'm thinking a triangle shaped scarf. There are 2 patterns that have caught my eye, the Mohair scarf and the Paloma Pointel scarf. So both of these are triangular shawls, and they have little yarn over details in them, which I think would go really, really beautifully with this. Otherwise kind of a plain knit with a little bit of lace detailing. I'm picturing this as kind of a great accessory to take with me on my commute, to take with me to work while I'm traveling, something really soft against the skin, and also with a lot of drape that I can use to fill in the gaps between my coat and my jumper and my neck. I can't stop touching this yarn. It is like my favorite thing I've ever felt. I've had it out on my table for the past week and I just keep touching it. That's the only yarn I came away with from the Wool Expo, very self-restrained. A lot of the other yarns there are kind of hand-dyed sock yarns, very variegated, which is not necessarily my style, but it was still really fun to go and see everything there. They also had secondhand clothing stalls, so I did pick up quite a lot of vintage clothing. And finally, my third acquisition was a bit of a spontaneous one. One of my local big box craft stores is closing, so they are selling all of their stock. And I went there a few days ago and just looked at what was kind of left over. I didn't really expect to find any yarn. I don't really buy a lot of yarn from there. There's very little wool, and what wool they do have is not the softest. And I thought it would probably all be gone. But when I turned up, I saw that they had something that really did catch my eye. The store is Lincraft, and this is the Lincraft brand Chiaro di Luna, which I believe is Italian for light of the moon. And this is a super, super sparkly chainette wool and alpaca and synthetic blend yarn. So the exact blend is 25% alpaca, 25% merino, 25% viscose, 18% nylon, 7% lurex. There's a few different colors, but I picked up the silver, and that was for a very specific reason. I had a kind of vision or an idea of knitting myself something to wear to a medieval fair. So I went to a medieval fair recently with my friends, and they're all very talented and make cool costumes, and I didn't really have anything to bring along. I was thinking about knitting myself a little pouch, a little bag, and felting it, and I definitely want to do that. But I also had the idea of knitting myself something that kind of looked like chainmail, and this yarn with its silver kind of metallic color and its sparkle really spoke to me, and I think it's going to be exactly what I need for a little bit of a cosplay costume knitting experiment. So I bought 4 balls of this. They're 50 grams each, so that's 200 grams. And I'm pleasantly surprised by how soft this yarn is. It's very wearable. I'm planning on making something that's going to go around my neck or my chest, so it needs to be soft enough to wear. And a lot of the silver yarns I'd seen before were all fully synthetic and weren't really what I was looking for. I'm really pleased that this is at least 50% natural fibers, and I think it's a pretty good imitation for metal. I've already done a couple of little swatch experiments, and I definitely think I've got something cool going on here. So stay tuned for an update on how my little chainmail knitting experiment goes. That's all I have knitting wise to update you on. I have also been getting back into a little bit of sewing. I had some pants that needed tailoring, so I busted out my sewing machine, and I think pretty successfully tailored those pants. So when I went to that craft store closing down, I did buy myself some more fabric. So I'm hoping to get a little bit into sewing over winter, since when I get home from work, it's so dark now that I'm basically stuck inside the house all evening. I am looking forward to getting into a little bit of a different kind of crafting over winter. I'll very much still be knitting, don't worry. But if I sew anything spectacular, I might also bring it on here and show you guys. That's everything. I hope you enjoyed. I'm very excited to see how much more progress I get done next month. And I hope you guys are having a really, really great start of your year. Honestly, we're almost halfway through 2026. I can't believe it. It's been a massive year for me already. I don't know what the second half is going to bring. Hopefully less hospital time, more fun activities with my friends, and a lot more knitting. So yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again really soon.